saw you're online. Are you, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can get you, Mav. Good evening.
Hey, how you going, mate? Hey,
Greetings from a very sunny Lincolnshire. Hi, Kat.
Yum yum land, mate. Warsaw.
I've got stir crazy.
for people who don't know, Dusty's responsible for the newsletter. So this is the first time he's actually, I think, been able to join us on one of these things. So thanks for the promotion on your site, and looks like we're getting a pretty good European turnout today.
Yes, super. Yeah, I mean, always as always, Mav. Thank you for your articles. They're always fascinating and interesting, and I could just say thanks to everybody who sent. I've already got some stuff for the June one, so keep it up, guys. You know, it's super, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, thank you for the newsletter.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Yep. We just need some more. We just need everyone to in this time to work on their competition entries, don't we, Kat?
Yeah, I think I'm allowed to, because I'm not going to make this one commercial. I'm going to give it away for at least 6 months.
Yep.
It's a big project yet. It's going to fill the disc. Basically, it's going to be a disc image file full, which you'll be doing for me, of course, Mav, because I can't get stuff from old to new. Mav will remember that when I did my first my game Actual Reality, the first one, I actually was saving. I was saving it on cassette every time I did some. I didn't even have a disc drive, and Mav imaged it all and sent me some discs by the time I'd got my disc drive.
Yeah, it was quite a project. People would be surprised to know that Kat's prolific programming actually started out, like most of us, on a cassette-based system. So most of the development of your first program, Actual Reality, was done on cassette, and then I just did a transfer to disc, sent it to Kat, tested it out, and then it was ready for distribution.
Absolutely, and it's amazing the people. I packaged them like you pick them up off the shelf in Tandy. I don't know if it was the same in Radio Shack, and people like the physical media, you know.
Yeah.
Just like with music now, because obviously that's my main job. I'm not going to waffle about that, but people are now, vinyl has now overtaken MP3 downloads. Vinyl has. So anyway.
Awesome.
But I'm going to give away the new one as a DSK image, and I will just tell you all, folks, I think Mav knows, seen a bit of it. It's actually going to be a simulator of the Whopper computer from the film War Games.
Oh.
A global thermonuclear war.
Yeah.
Whopper simulator for TRS-80 Model 1. I can't wait to see it completed.
Good.
It's going to have 10 different games. It's going to have tic-tac-toe, of course, because that's what the computer wants to play with, Professor Falcon.
Might actually be faster.
Huh?
Said it might actually be faster.
Well, yeah.
Joshua. Hey, is the rule on the competition that it can't be commercial?
Basically, it can be turned to commercial once the competition's over.
Yeah. I was worried I wouldn't be allowed to enter because I've been doing it for a couple of years. But as I'm giving this one away free, I think I'm all right. I hope that's the consensus, guys. You know, because I'll tell you what. You know, look, the truth is, I've made about 300 quid in total. You know, I do it for love, not for money. It's not. It's,
yeah.
You know, Mav does it for money. He makes millions of Australian dollars, as he said. My new game, Rockstar, in fact, that's had virtually zero interest. I've sold one. I think TRS-80 get to move to sci-fi, actually.
Yeah, it needs a little bit. We got to work out a way to promote it. It actually is fun. I've played it for a bit. It's
Did you get number one?
What's that?
Did you win it?
I it takes a lot of time, and that's one thing I don't. I'm time poor, so I play it for 6 or 7 circulations of the. Do you just want to explain to everyone how the process of winning the game or completing the game works?
I mean, the object is to, it's a 1 or 2 player, and just like the first one, Actual Reality, I designed it to fit into 16K, so it'll run on, pretty much everything unless it's a level 1. The object is to get to number 1 in the charts. It's a 1 or 2 player with sound. Which by the way, Mav, I've now got the sound working on the dispersion as well. Thanks to, oh man, I can't remember, another guy in one of the forums. And I tell you what, my inspiration for this was actually a game from the Atari ST and Amiga called Rockstar Ate My Hamster. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. But the problem with that game was, and I've Googled it, you couldn't win. You had fun, and then you disappeared out the charts, and that was it. So I wanted to make a similar thing about music where you could win.
Yeah. The premise of the game is basically to do enough gigs, release enough singles, and albums to stay in the charts and go up the charts.
Yeah, you get to release 3 singles. Oh, it's basically on a 4-next loop of 52. So it's a bit. So you got 52 goes to get to number 1.
Yeah.
And with the album charts. And well, I just going back to reality. I started writing because I wanted to play it with my son.
Yep. Excellent. Hey, where's George? You around, George?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. How's GP? How's TRS-80 GP going?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, we got that Model 16 emulation out, and there's several bugs to fix, but it's going pretty well. Working on the next version.
You're the TRS-80 GP guy. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm the guy who fixed your sound too.
How is it you? Oh, cheers,
Yeah.
buddy.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, Jay.
Hey.
Come, buddy.
Hey.
How you doing?
All right, hanging in there.
You confined to your apartment?
Yeah, yep, pretty much.
Yep.
I go out a little with the mask and the gloves.
You got the whole thing where you're allowed to go down to the pharmacy, I guess. And
Oh
back.
yeah. But everything else is shut down. It's a weird feeling to go down on Main Street and see nothing open. It's bizarre.
What's it like when you have to go, a long distance? Like I got to go to Ballarat sometime this week, which is about 80 miles away. So I'm expecting to have very little traffic at all on the motorway.
Oh yeah. The highways and it's just crazy. It's just like nobody's around.
Yep.
We're limited to a kilometre from home.
Oh right, is that how bad it can get? Okay.
Yeah, we're absolutely locked down. Yeah.
All right.
It's quite a big thing.
Trump just announced that he was thinking of possibly even quarantining the entire city of New York so that nobody could go in or out. And it's getting a lot of flack down here.
Yeah, New Jersey too.
Yeah, New
And
Jersey,
Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
Really?
I just drove
Okay.
down Delaware
Yeah.
from Pennsylvania to grab some, go to the local liquor store down there because they're all closed in Pennsylvania. Pretty
Right.
much the entire parking lot was full of people from PA.
Gotta get your booze in.
They got to get their booze. We
Yeah.
actually did a trip for our in-laws.
To take that even a stretch further, I'm in Oregon where pot is legal, and they were closing down, and the first exception on the list was the pot dispensaries were allowed to stay open. And I'm sitting there going, what a great gig. You get your tax money and you get to sedate everybody and keep them stoned. So there's no worries with people. But yeah, I think the liquor stores were number 5 on our list. 2 was restaurants are allowed takeout only, handful of things, but yeah. Here in Maryland, the district attorney down in the city has decided to let the drug smugglers and the drug dealers just do their business with masks and gloves on. It's just bizarre. They can get away with it.
Hey, Paul, are the pot stores allowed to stay open because they're considered medicinal?
It's actually legal. It's completely legal in about 5 or 10 states in the U.S. now. Oregon is one of them.
Yeah, we're in
And
Washington.
so you just have to be 21 or older to purchase. I wouldn't know. I mean, it's not as bad as Colorado. I go to Colorado and there's a pot dispensary on every corner. But here it's probably about every 2-3 miles there's a dispensary. Would be my guess. Yeah, no, I was just chuckling that it was the #1 exception in the list. When I first read the list, I was like, wow, what have we come to? But
in Virginia, the state ABC stores were relegated to a footnote that they would be open. So,
You guys, I want to share a few photos of a trip that I recently took down to Dallas Fort Worth. Some of you know about this. I'm going to share my screen here. Hold on.
Slideshow. Awesome.
You guys can see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know whose this is?
It's Frank's.
Frank Durda. Frank Durda from the Tandian.
Oh.
Did you get his stuff?
He got his stuff.
Oh,
right.
Pete, good for you.
Not just me, but a few others. Yeah, it was a really great trip. You know, we put a few items on the truck,
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
and then it got even fuller.
Wow.
He always was a pack rat.
He kept everything.
He did. The
Yeah.
garage was full, his office was full, and the spare bedroom was filled with these rooms. And
That sounds like Frank.
He had one of my boot ROMs. You know, if you find it, let me know.
Which one?
Good luck. Yeah.
It'll have my name on it, Ken B.
Oh, it's in that box all the way in the back there on the left. I think.
Yeah, there you go.
You sent me the whole.
dare I ask Peter, what's the plans?
I can use one of them hard drives.
Yep. So 4 of us went down there, and we basically purchased, you know, the lot of items from Frank's widow, and you know, we really feel it was really a win-win situation for everyone because, you know, we got to have this incredible experience. Frank's family made a good sum of money to help them with their expenses, and I think Frank is also a winner because he's going to see his legacy continue, and instead of seeing a lot of this go into the dump, you know, we're going to archive and, you know, the documentation and as software, as much as we can make publicly available, we will. You know, we won't release anything with any private information or anything that there may be licensing issues involved. But I think the majority of what we found will be eventually be able to share with the community. So I'm really excited about that.
That's a great idea.
And then once we drove away, we have to empty out the truck so we can basically divvy up the items. It took a little while.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, not too many machines. Lots of docks though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a 12 bunch of 4/3s.
I think there were 3 16Bs and maybe 3 4s.
Yeah, 3 4Ps,
Mm-hmm.
couple of 16s.
Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to set up for like an auction for this stuff or what?
We know the software that I'm in the process of starting to archive it, and it's going to go into Model 2 archive, essentially, where we share everything for free.
It has some really interesting stuff to go in there.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see some of the stuff at Tandy Assembly.
Oh, definitely.
Anything jump out at you that was most interesting?
To me, the biggest, and this was an incredible find, because this is something I've been looking at forever. Ken and Val, you may know about this. There was a company called Veritas that developed a card that would go into the Model 2, and it would allow you to run basically an x86 operating system like MS-DOS or CPM86. It's a complete 8088 computer on a board plug in, and it worked like the Xenix works with the 68000 boards. So it used the Z80 side as the IO slave system.
Yep.
So
pretty rare.
That's real rare. It figured that Frank would have one.
He actually had 2.
Those were the only 2 ever made.
That's funny.
Oh, Peter, if there's a big interest, I might could reverse engineer the board if you've got sufficient docs or take good enough pictures of the board.
Well, I'm hoping to find the software somewhere because without the Z80 control program, you know, it's going to be useless.
Yep.
Well, he would have it.
Frank would have it somewhere. I mean, because he wrote it. He wrote the original Zeedle, so.
So yeah, there's probably at least, you know, 10 to 15 of these boxes are 8-inch floppy disks.
Jeez.
Which are piled up in my library right now that I'm starting to go through.
Well, I guess we know
The
where all the
media
media
like,
is.
Peter.
Yeah, basically one of every manual, every tech manual that you could think of.
What's the condition of the media, Peter?
Media, almost every disk has been readable. So he really knew how to store.
Wow.
Take care of them.
I'd always be worried about hot Texas, poor storage and that sort of thing. But if they've been kept indoors, I guess they've got the best chance of any of surviving.
Yeah, a majority of them boxes with the 8-inch media were in the spare bedroom, so they were conditioned.
Okay, because I
So
can
don't get me
imagine
wrong, when I read them, I have to clean the heads after every read. So you know they are, but they are readable, which is the saving grace.
I posted a video about Curious Mark doing a recovery of some 8 inches for an old IBM Mini, I think it was, and he went through the same kind of processes of having to get a drive working properly. They're so hard to get.
Right.
I saw that video as well. I was sort of face palming myself the minute that he chose that his drive of choice to do that with was a TM-848. I thought this isn't going to end well, but fortunately, they repaired the TM-848 and got it to work. But I just wonder how much stuff ended up edited out on the cutting room floor of them frustrated with this TM-148 before they got it working.
I wonder how many discs he destroyed.
Yeah. I have to be honest. A lot of Frank's discs are double-sided. You know, I would say close to half of them are. So I've only been archiving the single-side discs. I did try to read one on my TM-848, and I tested it before, and it worked fine. I put one of Frank's discs in, and I got the screech of death almost immediately.
Ooh.
And I took it out, and track 0 was nice and clean.
Yeah.
Oh.
Darn. So I don't know if this media is gonna, the double-sided, you know, the two heads squeezing against that media, it's gonna be a lot more harsh. So we might lose some of them. I'm gonna try baking those before, if you guys know that process where you bake the floppy disks in a drying oven for like 8 hours. And that is a technique to help the old media adhere to the Mylar substrate. And it's supposed to let you get at least 1 or 2 good reads off of it. So I'm going to try that technique.
So just a thought, if that doesn't work, is it worth punching a secondary index hole on the other side and doing a flippy on the single-sided drive?
Is that possible?
I don't know. I just think back to
then
the old
disc will be
days.
spinning backwards.
Yeah, the
so,
disc is spinning
Oh,
backwards.
okay. Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. Sorry. I was just thinking back to the old days when people would go punch secondary index holes to be able to flip disc on.
You can't just flip the. You can't just flip the
tracks are
bits.
also offset by about 8 tracks.
Well, you know, that's an interesting question with something like flash floppy or something like that. You could pull the whole track and reverse them. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, but it's not just the bits that are reversed, it's the actual magnetic frequencies. So if there's transitions in there, it might get confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was joking. So.
No. Hey, you got to get creative sometimes.
But yeah, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. I'm sure if there's a way to process that data at the lowest level, you might be able to do it.
Actually, it's a raw flux read, so it may actually, you might be actually able to pull it.
The Commodore guys
Theoretically,
have been having good luck with it with 1541 discs.
Yeah,
Cat Weasel allowed you to do that.
Which one?
so theoretically, with a grease weasel or a cat weasel or a cryoflux, you should be able to do the raw flux dump and then with some manipulation, reverse the order, and you might be able to pull that off.
That's what I was talking about. So
If somebody has done that successfully on another platform, do we know?
So Pete, one of the things I was going to show off at Cocoa Fest and what I'm planning to do at Tandy Assembly is possibly a reboot of my Cocoa floppy talk, but with a little bit more on the archiving side. I've been working on a utility with the Grease Weasel, doing bit level flux copies of disks, grabbing the SCP, which is the SuperCard Pro, the CBM stuff format, and taking that, and I've only got it working with MFM right now because that's what the Cocoa uses basically natively for the double density disks, and taking that and converting the flux level images to MFM, to DSK, to DMK, to SD, SDF, and my plan is at some point having it where it'll work with FM as well as the MFM. So the work that I've done on it so far, what you guys are talking about, being able to reverse the order of the flux transitions, you might be able to get away with that.
I guess, Peter, one other question. Do you not have an 851 drive, or are you still looking for one?
I'm looking for one.
Okay, I've got a guy that I know if he's back, he may have one. So worst case, I could pick that up, loan it to you, or give it to you.
That'd be great. So I was loaned a Mitsubishi double-sided drive. I hear that they are gentler on the media, but I have to replace the tantalum capacitors on it, on the power supply, to get it running. But I'm going to test that one next. But I really would like an 851 because I know they're a lot easier to clean than these other drives as well. So.
Well, with your Trump $1,200, there's a brand new old stock in the box, in the bag, Mitsumi on eBay in the States at the moment. But oh my Lord, it's expensive.
I saw that. I did see that. And so this is me when I got back to New York after like 2 days straight of driving. It was really advantageous because a few of the people who joined me on this trek, one lived in Tennessee and one lived in West Virginia. So it was sort of a straight line driving back to New York, and we just basically stopped at each location and dropped off their items. And I slept 6 hours in West Virginia, but other than that, I spent about 2 days of straight driving back to New York.
Yeah, it wasn't nearly as bad of a drive for me.
Eric, yeah.
So Peter, all the people from Europe will want to know, is there anything in that truck that was 220 volts that you want to get rid of?
I actually took very little of the hardware home. I was more interested in the discs and the documentation. I didn't see any 220 volt hardware. Eric, did you?
No, I didn't.
Well, most of those 8-inch systems would just have the voltage switchable Aztec power supply in them, so they could, in theory, be just sent over to Europe, change the cooling fans, remove the 120 240 volt jumper, and it would work. But I wouldn't want to send anything that fragile any distance anywhere. Actually, the plastics are far too brittle.
Yeah, I was going to say the Seagate drives are actually AC motors on the back of those. So any Model 2s or anything like that, you'll have to change a motor or something out on it in order to get the 220 to work.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're also 1560 hertz, so
Yep.
that would have to be.
Yep, you may have to change the wheel on the main drive shaft. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
I can feel myself driving to Somerset once the containment's off then.
So who's got an interesting project they'd like to share that you've been working on with the community here? Now's the time to reveal it to the world. Anyone?
Well, it's not my project, but there is something going on in the Model 100 world that I'm hoping to be able to show off at TASM.
Any hints as to what it is?
It's brought to you by the letters C, P, and M.
Ooh.
The Rex CPM.
Yeah. So everyone on the Model 100 list, I'm probably a lot of you are there, and you've. Is anyone else on this call working on this project? Am I stealing anyone's thunder?
No, but as a fan of CPM, I'm interested in it. So.
Yeah, I am too. So if you know, I happen to have one here. If you know the Rex on the Model 100, this is the option ROM replacement chip. I typically have these at Tammy Assembly. The designer of this, Stephen Adolph, and another one of the programmers, Philip Avery, they have joined forces into the ultimate dynamic duo to concoct the Rex CPM, which is an all RAM based battery backed RAM, 4 megabyte, yes, option ROM replacement that with, I think it still takes a couple of wires, but it's still pretty simple installation, now gives you full 64K of RAM for CPM, as well as a RAM-based disk for the CPM storage, and you'll be able to run CPM on your Model 100.
Oh man.
It won't show up because of my virtual background.
Better buy them all off of eBay right now.
What's the RAM content, or is it copied from the ROM module, or is there enough RAM internal to run it, or is it limited?
It takes over the RAM in the thing, I think, becomes useless, and you're only using the RAM on the Rex CPM.
Okay, good.
It's a total of 4 megabytes, and it's banked in and mapped in a couple of different places. So some of it's storage, and some of it's actual system RAM for CPM. And then on top of that, he has come up with a hack to allow high-speed serial I/O out the barcode port to allow you to run to a external ASCII display at high speed.
Oh.
Actually, I just live about 40 minutes from Philip, and he showed me this a few weeks ago, and I'll tell you what, it's very, very impressive. You know, you get the typical CPM screen. It's he's very excited about this. Yeah, so it's.
I'm excited about it too. I'm really hoping that it's going to be in good enough shape to have at Tandy Assembly. I had already decided I wasn't going to do a booth this year, but if no one else decides to show this thing off, I can't let it go unshowed. So it'll be there one way or another.
Cool. What other projects? Anyone else have something?
I'm actually going to shoot off soon, lads, because I don't know anything about hardware at all. I'm lost. I plug it in. I'll clear my disk drive heads. That's about it. But I just want to before I leave, I just want to thank George again, not only for his coding to get Rockstar working with Sam, but also for TRS-80 GP, because actual Reality 2 Battlestar Raven I'm using on my arcade machine I built, because it's such a button basher when you have a 2-player that this is obviously mirrored, probably, isn't it? But that I only did it on the TRS-80 once. It's not actually good for your TRS-80 when you're doing a 2-player, because you're both going, hit phases, all that kind of thing. So I'm using it on TRS-80 GP on my arcade console that I built. So that's a bit of TRS-80 on an arcade machine there. Buy some quantum torpedoes, quick. There you go. All right. Well, listen, lads, this has been fab. I will carry on watching, but I am going to head off now. And you're all amazing. So thanks again to George and everyone. It's amazing how many people are in this, and I've never been involved before. And thanks. Hopefully, the next one I'll have some more progress on, the Whopper computer.
Cool. Good. Thanks, Kat.
Okay, take care, everyone. Take care, Mav.
Have a safe one. Stay safe.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone. See you later.
All right.
And rock and roll.
All right. Anybody else? Come on. I know there's more projects out there.
I've got a couple things going, but small projects. But first of all, I want to thank you, Peter, for hosting this. And it's nice to match faces with names I've seen on Facebook and voices I've heard on the podcasts. First up, Ian, your double density kit arrived perfectly fine in California. I meant to email you about that. So thank you on that. That's one project I'm going to get done. The second thing I've been posting intermittently on Facebook is I have a Model 2 that I've rescued, and I know Pete and a couple of other folks on Facebook have been guiding me through certain things to get that done. If anyone has any hands-on suggestions as to how to take the thing apart, Peter, I know you did send me, I think, a modified technical manual that shows pictures of how to get the thing apart, but any tips and tricks? I've already have the notion of how to pull the CRT driver off, and I'm trying to figure out how to practice that before I do it actually. But I need to get access to the power supply because apparently the 5-volt line on my Model 2 is gone. So comments on helping me out there, or history or experience you've had repairing a 5-volt line in a Model 2 or replacing the power supply would be wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Valerie probably could answer this well. I reckon at the Tandy Tech Center, you'd have had very long screwdrivers for getting those bolts out of the. They need to be about 30 centimeters long or so to. Yeah, that one there.
That one that
Yeah.
Pete got. That's it. Yeah, like the one I was showing. Yeah.
So I actually had another trick is you can get several of the magnetic screwdrivers with the extensions and stack them together. And that way you actually can hold it. The flatheads don't stick on as well, but a few Phillips that are in there actually do quite well and easy. So I was doing a 16, and when I first started tearing it apart, I referred to the 2 guide. If you don't have that 2 disassembly manual, it is kind of useful. So it actually helped me with the 16. The 12 is a different beast.
It's in the Model 2 archive if anybody wants it.
Yep. And I appreciate that, Peter.
That's where I got it from the Model 2 archive. Thanks.
Yeah, so for Gary Katz, so the screws which are probably preventing you from tearing your computer apart are so deep down in the thing, you need the long screwdriver and a big magnifying glass to see them so that you can get them out. It's a wonderful design, isn't it?
Yeah. So one trick that may help you, if you look at the bottom of your unit, you'll see where there's deformed dimples underneath, and what that is where they've pressed in bosses for the screws that hold in the bottom, and there's like 5 of them on the Model 12. There's a whole bunch of other screws you don't need to pull, but if you correlate the little dimple spots, those are actually press-in bosses on the bottom. Is it the same way, Peter, on the 2?
No.
No.
But no. Completely different.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Metal chassis.
Something to keep in mind on the Model 2 and 16. You don't need to take the machine apart to get the power supply out. There's just the 3 screws that are holding down the frame that holds the power supply on one side and the video board on the other side. You take those 3 screws out with your long nut driver, and you very carefully bring the whole assembly up and lean it over, and you can get at the screws on the power supply.
Yeah.
I couldn't pull that off on the 16, Peter. I actually, that's why I pulled the bottom off. I couldn't pivot it up around it without worrying about breaking the neck. So be careful of the neck.
It's very tricky.
Yeah.
It was worth pulling the bottom off for me.
Yeah, and another thing, be careful of the video section. There's some high voltages in there.
Yep.
And it's easy to accidentally flip it over. And then the brightness and contrast cables, it's easy to accidentally jerk those loose, and those are a bear to get back without taking it apart further.
Yeah. The front comes off pretty easy though. But yeah, the first time I put mine back together, I bent the main video signal board into the contrast pot, and I'm pulling it up and I'm not getting no video, but they're scan lines, and I'm sitting there going, okay, it's getting horizontal and vertical sync. What's going on? So just, things to watch out for. And once I figured that out, it was like I had videos. So it was a fun time bringing that one back up.
Thank you all very, very much. I've not torn into a Model 2 yet. It's the first one I've ever had. So this is very helpful, and I'm looking forward to getting the recording when I get to my other office where the machine's located. So again, thank you all very much.
There's a lot of sharp stuff in there. So a lot of things.
Yeah.
Make sure you unplug it before you take the cover off.
It's more fun to leave it plugged in.
I was going to say 110's nothing compared to the high voltage coming off that flyback.
Who designed the internal layout of the Model 2?
Say what?
So what?
Who designed the interior of the Model 2 or the whole thing?
Yeah, I don't know who did the mechanical designs. Sam Sawyer did the electronics on it, but I don't know who did the mechanical design on it.
Was it Rick Thompson? Do you know?
No,
he wasn't there
he
then.
wasn't a mechanical. He was an electrical guy. So.
Yeah, I don't think he was even there at the time the Model 2 came.
Yeah.
By the way, we met Rick Thompson and Paul Schreiber at Frank's house. Paul
Oh.
Paul's the one that facilitated the whole deal. So
yeah, how's Rick doing?
hey, he's good. He looks good. Yeah. He said he's probably going to make it to Tandy Assembly this year.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, he was one of my favorite engineers.
Yeah, he was awesome. So.
Yeah, really nice guy.
Yeah.
So just on Tandy Assembly, Pete, is that still is it still you're still thinking that it's going to be on?
Yeah, I mean, it's late October, so hopefully, hopefully
we'll be over the crest of that curve that they want to flatten.
Yeah, they're going to have to restart flights though from our part of the world.
Well, I've already bought my ticket. I think Aaron's already bought his. I got mine while they were cheap, so I'm hoping it's going to go ahead. I mean, it would be a shame if we had to delay it for a year, but if it is, it is what it is. But it's it's a highlight of my year at the moment.
I'm telling everyone, plan for it, but plan smart. You know, get refundable tickets and don't pay for your hotel in advance, that sort of thing. So.
I saw something that they were talking about doing away with refundable tickets on like Delta and Alaska and a few other airlines, and those are the ones that charge the big change fees. So look into that. They're talking about going to a no change fee permanent policy. So that could help out. It's just the fare difference.
Well, I hate to say it, but if we are having this problem still in October, we're going to have bigger things to worry about.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, at the rate that they're failing to flatten this curve in the United States, it might be over long before then.
Wow.
Well, just one interesting thing
is that bad in the United States. I actually was watching the rest of of Italy and Iran and places like that, and how it was quite controlled in Australia and New Zealand, and I thought, America's a fairly sophisticated country. You know, I'm surprised that it's gone as crazy as it has there.
So are we.
Yeah, our cities are quite large. It's the big cities that are getting hit, but an interesting statistic you'll see is that even though we're probably one of the largest countries, the death rate is half compared to the national or to the global numbers, which I guess that says something a little better about the health care system here, or maybe we're just late or too early in the game to understand yet. But,
could be.
It's an interesting statistic. A couple of my friends have been watching. So Atlanta looks like it's getting ready to get hit hard. So it's could be pretty bad there.
Louisiana looks bad too.
Any other projects? I have one.
I'll talk about my one if you want. I actually have nothing to show at the moment except an ad from an old magazine, which it's an old TRS-80 magazine called Computer User, and people may remember this ad for Chroma TRS. You see that? Is that clear? Yeah. So I've mentioned this on the Facebook group. It's a color adapter card for the Model 1, 3, and 4. It's pretty hard to find one, and they Pascal managed to find one, and so he's reverse engineered it. So I'm building the first of them to try out, and I'll make them available as a project for people that are interested. But basically what it is, it's a plug-in card for the computer. It connects then to an NTSC television set, and the main graphic processor is the TMS 9918, which is the graphic processor out of a TI 994A computer. So that produces I think 256 by 192 in 15 colors, or I think that's what its spec is. So so I'm sort of getting the pieces together. I thought I'd actually have the circuit boards by now because I ordered them, but deliveries of everything around the world is slow at the moment. So they're telling me that I'm now going to get my circuit boards on the 2nd of April, and then I'll knock one up. And Baz was going to help me with that. Baz, are you online at the moment? No. Okay. Baz is an engineer, TRS-80 enthusiast who works out of Greece at the moment, and yeah, then I'll make these things available as a kit for people who want to build it up.
I kind of get back to my training since. What's up?
Hey, Joel.
I think he's on a telephone call.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You need to mute
So
him.
that's a project I'm working on. So I'm hopefully going to have one of those to show at Tandy Assembly. I might get a little help from Eric, and we'll set one of those up. How's that sound, Eric?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. All right. Well, I have something to show unless somebody else has something. I want to show the latest demo of my game that I'm working on. All right. Let me share the screen. This is Roundup for those who haven't seen it. Coming along pretty well. Basically, you are a cowboy. Lasso up the little calves.
This is pretty cool.
That's good, Pete.
Very nice. Very nice, Pete.
If you've played the game Stampede for the Atari, you'll know what that's about. You can kick them along if you need to.
So why are you launching a big 5 spaceship at them? I don't quite understand that.
Yeah, and you're riding a camel.
You know, with these pixels, you can only do so much, and you have to watch out for the little skulls. If you hit the skull, your horse will jump. See, like that.
Oh.
You can't do anything while he's jumping.
You got your one.
This is awesome.
That's cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
I like the rope.
Even got some sound effects going.
The skulls are pretty good too.
Hey, Pete, you better add a rattlesnake or two in there.
Well, that's a great idea.
Is that tapping sound the sound effect?
That's supposed to be the horse, the hooves. I have to tune that a little bit.
That's not bad, actually.
It sounds on the TRS-80.
Yeah. Yep.
Thought it was someone tapping their microphone.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that, Aaron.
Thanks to George Phillips for the sound routine, by the way. And as you play, just, you know, as you get along, you start adding more and more calves. It starts getting harder and harder. And you can only let 3 get by you before the game ends. And you just try and get the most points before the calves get by you. You need to start making decisions about what part of the screen you need to jump to. Now we're gonna get 5 here in a second. It's gonna get harder. Gotta get one more.
So you ought to add some difficulty and change the speed that the horse can go up and down for the difficulty levels.
Yeah.
I thought the camel was having a heart attack.
That looks good though.
That's great, Pete.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah. It's my second game, so we're getting better with each one. So, but now I have to decide whether I want to sell it for a small price or put it in the competition.
You're one of the judges, so.
Oh, yeah.
I think you may as well just try and make a quid out of it.
You know, in the first game I did Breakdown, which was my breakout clone. I never really finished it, but I wanted to release it on real cassette tapes and create the real little TRS-80 manuals. I'm definitely going to do that this time with this game. So I'm going to sell the complete experience and package, just like, and put it in a little baggie, just like it was hanging up in Radio Shack, you know? So that's
Who's doing the graphics for you?
I did them myself.
Oh,
Hey,
good.
Pete, I already
I mean-
bought your official hat.
Oh, look at you. I'll license them. You can sell them and just give me, 10% or something.
University of Wyoming might be mad at us, but
And speaking of competitions, I'm judging the 10-line basic game competition this year. I just pulled up the list, and I don't see any TRS-80 games in there. There's some for the Coco and the MC10, but the TRS-80 didn't get any entries this year.
Which site is that connected to?
So it's a guy out of Germany. The website is like Home Putarium or something like that. But it's an annual thing. I submitted entries on the Model 100 and then the Model 200 in the last couple of years, but I didn't have an entry this year. And the guy who organizes it at Gunnar, he asked me to join because I like it so much, and so I'm got drafted to be one of the judges.
So something a little unusual for people in the States. MC10s. Has anyone ever seen one of these?
No.
It's
Oh,
called
yeah.
That's
yeah.
the French-made one.
It is. It's the French-made one. So this is they were used in French schools. So it's this is complete. So there's a red MC10 for you. Look at that.
Oh, sure enough.
Wow.
Yep.
But
Imagine how successful the color computer would have been if it was painted bright red.
But the best thing about it is it's got one of those as a graphics connector.
SCART.
A SCART connector. So it's even vaguely usable, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So,
Yeah, I've seen the Matra Alice at the last 2 shows that I've been to. It's actually seems to be getting popular.
Yeah. Well, I imagine they're being found, given the fact they were all over France. So
They were, yeah, among the popular computers for a short period of time within in France, as all the schools got them, so all the parents got them as well. And I guess now people are pulling them out of their attics and things like that. So they're for the longest time it was really difficult to get one, but if people are looking for them, I guess they're around now. If Patrick Bureau was here and going to France, I'd get him to pick me one up.
Yeah, I'm sharing the Roundup artwork.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Lovely.
I didn't actually draw the horse and the calf. That's stock photo. I had to do some manipulation on it, but so this will be the packaging. Yeah.
you're leaving it black and white, yeah? Because that looks awesome.
Yeah. Just
Yeah, cool.
Very nice.
You need to get those little Repro Radio Shack little white pricing stickers to put on the bag too.
Thinking the same thing I was. Get those little Radio Shack stickers.
Well, Jay, don't you have it?
I don't have. Nope. Unfortunately, I don't have those.
Need to come up with a catalog number too, Pete.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And on the back, you need a screenshot, because you know how you've got like the Zaxxon one, the really impressive looking high resolution graphics on the front. And then when you flip it over, that shows what the actual screen
Right.
looks like in all its low resolution glory on the back. That looks great, Pete.
Cool. Anyone else have something to share?
Mav, did you get the email I sent you with those Gerbers? No.
Probably. How long ago?
Oh, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Maybe resend it. I was having email problems at that time, so.
It's for a simple board to run a serial interface from the cassette port, so that if you've got a level 2 Model 1 with a quinterface and a thread, you can stick a printer through the cassette port.
I remember something like that, so it's possible I didn't get it. Just send it through again when we're finished, and I'll have a look at it.
Okay, mate. Yeah, lovely. Pete, I've moved my Model 2, a stupid thing to do, I know. Right?
How's your back? Your back okay?
Well, no. When I power it on, it comes up, insert disk, no problems at all. I pop the disk in, close the door, the motor starts and it just clicks and nothing happens. There's like a click sound. I'm guessing one of the boards has come adrift. Does that sound possible?
It's possible. Ken, you used to run tech support. What do you think?
I check the boards, especially if you don't have the little thing that holds them in.
The bracket in the back,
Yeah.
because they pop out really
Because the whole thing flexes, you know, you pick it up and it just kind of racks. So
Right.
I check that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try that. Thank you. Yeah, brilliant.
What about turning your disc around? Are you sure the disc's facing the right way?
Oh yeah, yeah.
every time I go to use my Model 2, I end up putting the disc in the wrong way because it's the opposite of all my other TRS-80 computers, and but it's fairly forgiving that way.
And then the pad screws up the front side of your disc and it's toast. So
Yeah, Dusty, you should hear that motor running all the time too. If it's not running when you put the disc in, then you might have something else going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think the motor was running, but as you closed the door, it just goes. There's a clicking sound in the machine, and it just nothing. You know, dies on me.
Where's the clicking coming from?
It sounds as though it's coming from the disk drive, but it's difficult to tell. I need to take the lid off and have another look and try it, and I'll be able to perhaps see better where the sound is coming from. But as I say, I just sort of make sure it powers up, having moved it, turned it on, worked perfectly. You insert disk drive, pop the door to, and then just click, and then nothing.
Post a video of it. Maybe somebody can see it if you post a video.
Is it a continuous click?
No, just it's more of a sound, a deeper sound than that, and then the thing just nothing happens at all. So as I say, probably I've dislodged a board, having moved it across the room and round the corner, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like the head load sound.
I was thinking head load too.
I'll give it a whirl. Anyway, thanks. Yeah.
So you learned your lesson, Dusty. Don't move your Model T.
Don't move it. Well, I'll have to convince Dee. See, she likes to move me about. She likes to make it difficult for me. You know?
No, you put it right in the living room in a prominent place, and you leave it there.
You're a braver man than I am, Pete. That's all I can say.
That's emotion.
Oh man. All right. So let's play a little game. We're gonna play What Is It? All right. So if you have any items, handy items that you think we may not know what it is, or try to stump us, do that. I'm gonna start with an item, see if anybody guesses what it is. All right. Give me a second here. Get some light. All right. Mav, you're not eligible.
Oh.
What is it?
Well, I already know.
It's that auto typer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Went over
I
the
know what
printer.
it
I
is,
forgot what they
too.
called it.
Yeah,
It goes over the select typewriter.
Yeah, select
Yeah.
typewriter. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
The Dynatyper.
Dynatyper. That's
Dynatyper,
it.
that's
Yep,
it.
Yep.
Amazing that this thing actually worked, right? With all those little solenoids in there, having to press down on the keys.
Electric fingers.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing that being demoed and thought it was cool many years ago.
So Peter, my first printer was actually a Selectric that had the solenoids built into the rails underneath.
Oh,
And
neat.
I actually wrote a driver for the Model 3 to go over the parallel port to engage all the row column stuff on a Selectric, which kind of equivalent to that, except you're going per key. So that was a fun little project when I was young.
Was that the IO Selectric or?
It was something I bought salvage for like $25, and when I was in Michigan, and it has solenoids on the bottom along with key switches. So it was some sort of maybe it was a Selectric IO or something like that, but it only had the top to it, no bottom. It was designed to drop into a desk, but you had to do all the key translations and the key timing, and if you ever went too fast, your Selectric would really do crazy things. So little different than that, but it was fun.
I
Who
thought
else
a foot massager.
Foot massage.
Oh,
I've got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I want people to have a think and tell me, what does this do? And Terry can answer it if he wants to.
Oh yeah.
That was a sound card for the Australian Video Genie.
Yeah, very good,
Yeah.
Dusty. Well done. Yeah.
Some software.
It wasn't a sound card. It was
The speaker.
yeah, it's a speaker connected to the cassette port, and there was a program which created various sound effects and things that you could incorporate into your programs and things.
Yeah.
So I know someone who's looking for a speaker, an original speaker for one of those, but I don't think we're ever going to find one because we've been looking for the best part of a decade and not
Yeah,
been
there
able.
might have actually been two versions of that, Mav. I think the very first version, I think, came with a little bit of hardware. Might have been a speaker or a pretty cheap amp. But then the second version, because Dick Smith was selling monitors, which had a sound input, I think it was just the cassette, because it assumed that you would have one of these Dick Smith monitors.
We never had I never saw any of those in the UK in the day, but what we used to use was one of the Radio Shack baby alarms, and you actually got two in a packet, obviously one for the baby room and one for mum and dad, and you could use either one of those plugged by the cassette port.
Or the Archer telephone talker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I remember one of the first time I used sound effects on a TRS-80. Well, it was a System 80. Was to just use a transistor radio that wasn't tuned to any channel, and of course you could hear all the radio interference, which usually corresponded to what was going on in the game. So that was a way to get sound effects in the early days.
That was one of the questions that I was going to ask Dick Smith about 5 weeks ago, Mav, about whether there's any sound offs. You're muted, by the way, Mav.
Now I'm not.
There he goes.
Who else has got a what is it there?
I've got one.
I got something I can stump you guys with.
Go for it.
Cigarette.
No.
Matchstick?
No. Keep guessing. Let me say something, so maybe I'll show up in the
Model
the speaker.
100 riser foot.
That's it.
That's it. You know what that would be useful for? When you're out and paying for something and you don't want to touch the touch screen when you
stylus,
your PIN number, that would be perfect.
Mark, did you have something?
Yeah, so it's a cartridge. That's the end connector on it. Basically, it was actually sold by Tandy.
Oh.
Is that the Coco hard disk adapter?
It is, in fact.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
For those one of those drives we saw on the thing on the budget truck there.
That's my version of it there. Yeah.
Oh, that's got the 50 pin that connects to the Tandy hard drive.
There's Tandy primary hard drive. Yeah. But it's good to see that you've got it there in the box, Mark, because they never sold them in Australia, and the only ones that are here, I believe, aren't in their boxes. So that's great that you managed to get that. I wonder how many they actually sold. I can't see it being.
It almost looks handmade.
Yes, I did notice that when I had a close look at one. It
maybe got the manual in the box if you can get it out of there.
All right.
Can I have a PDF of that manual, please, when you get a chance? I've never been able to see it.
Let's put you on 30-second delay, dude, because you're going to get this as soon as it comes on the screen. But what's one of these? I've stumped him.
Yeah.
I can't quite see it well enough for me to blow it up.
So it's an unpopulated PCB, but any idea what it is?
Tandy 2000?
4?
It's a Prof 80.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
Let's get that duplicated.
So I've got two. I've got one fully populated, and that is literally mint out the box.
How many layers? 2 or 4.
Yeah, someone spent some time on designing that. That's for sure.
I reckon that's 2.
Oh, that ought to be easy to duplicate then.
All right, I'll put it back carefully. And finally, in the PCB stakes, and I'll do this backwards. Everyone should know what one of these is. What's one of those? It's the back.
That one of the voice synthesizers?
Voice synthesizer.
Correct. Well done.
Yeah.
Because of the big black blob in the middle.
Yeah.
Was the big black blob a SCO1 underneath that?
It was the proprietary way of hiding actually what it was. So it's just a huge, great big thing of epoxy over that chip.
So it's an SCO1. Okay.
Yeah, it's the predecessor of the SCO1.
What chip was that?
It was the VSK, I think.
Okay.
All right. Well, this one will be easy because everyone knows the only thing that I do. But in case no one's actually ever seen one of these guys.
Ah, an option ROM.
No, this is actually not an option ROM. I don't know if I'm holding it too close.
Is it the RAM? Is it the RAM
Oh, it's
upgrade?
the RAM. Okay.
Yeah, this is one of the RAM modules
Yeah,
from the original 100s. It's composed of 4 separate chips on this ceramic substrate here, the board, and the pins are attached there on the end to this ceramic board. It's a very weird thing. I just built my first Model 100 replacement RAM modules based on these circuit boards you can get off of Osh Park, and it uses a single chip 64 kilobit SRAM instead. But
Joshua, are they thinking of anybody bringing back the NADS option for the Model 100 range?
no, so you're talking about the NADS box, the New Age Digital Storage box. No, the design is too cumbersome. He decided to manufacture, and basically he worked through his run of original PCBs and original cases because it's a molded plastic case. And after that, he says, basically, I'm out. So the world has not really replaced the NADS box as far as a dedicated thing. What there is, though, let me I don't have the serial interface, so I don't know if this will run for me, but there's a program called MCOM for an Android phone, and you attach a USB serial adapter onto this, and it is a TPDD emulator and a virtual modem. So if you go into Telcom in the M100 and just hit enter, it'll be like, oh, you're not TS-DOS. Let me go into modem mode. And so now it's a virtual modem. And so I use this all the time with all my machines, and I showed it off at the last few Tandy assemblies. And this is a great replacement for, it's not a dedicated device because it just runs on your phone. But as far as being convenient, man, it is there.
All right, I have another one. I'm going to show you the back. See if you can figure it out from the back.
Oh, that's the network.
Yeah.
Network 3.
Network 3.
Yeah, which one is it though?
3.
Network 3.
1.
Yeah.
Oh, 1.
Oh, is it 1?
Network 1.
Network 1 used the cassette.
Had one at our high school.
I didn't know it had that many ports.
Yeah.
16.
There must be a bunch of wires running around inside that thing. It must be an incredible bit of engineering.
Big rotary switch.
Yeah, it looks familiar. Neat display piece because you have the display rotor and the LEDs. Just looks cool on your shelf.
Yep. Was that from that auction in Connecticut?
Yes, I did get this one in Connecticut. I have a Network 3. Let me get the Network 3. I'll show that.
Yep. Hey, Ira, are you online at the moment? No? Okay. I thought I saw Ira pop up in the chat.
He did.
There he
Yeah.
is. There he is.
Not on camera or microphone, just lurking.
He's on camera.
While we're waiting for
He's
Peter,
working on his setup.
Okay.
Does anyone know if Randy Cook is no longer with us?
I haven't heard from him. I've tried to find him.
I tried to find him. I couldn't hunt him down. I was just curious.
So the Network 3 has the RS-232 connection, not the cassette.
All right. So 9600 board would be a piece of cake with that thing.
I don't know. I talked to Rick Thompson about it when I was in Dallas. He said he's the one that designed this.
Really?
Wow.
I have somebody to tap into when I set up my classroom.
Does it have its own power supply or inbuilt power supply?
It actually uses, it's hard, the Model 1 power supply.
Model 1, they must have had a bunch of Model 1 power supplies sitting around TCA and said, let's use them.
Yeah.
Thousands of them.
So, Peter, with all the networking stuff, did you ever figure out any more about that Tandy Talk stuff that you posted about?
No, I did not. I found those schematics in Frank's collection.
Ah, okay. So that's where they came from. Okay.
I think Paul Schreiber mentioned it. It was basically an imitation of Ken and Val. You may know about this Tandy Talk, sort of like an Apple Talk clone for Tandies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vaguely.
Vaguely. Yeah.
I don't think it was very successful.
No, most of our networking stuff wasn't, as it turned out.
Here's one. Let's see if it shows up.
I know that. That's the emblem off a Tandy 2000 keyboard.
Yep, we found a box of them.
As you do.
Original, I mean, just sheets of them. How many do you think was in that box, Pete?
Hundreds.
Yeah. And we couldn't figure out why.
Right?
You know, people are going to start retro-briding their Tandy 2000 keyboards, and they'll want a nice, pretty new emblem to put on those things. So you might find there'll be a few people who would be interested in those out there.
I expect that we probably have more than Model 2000 keyboards that are still in existence. So.
Probably. Ken's got one there. Show us, Ken. What's that?
What are we looking at, Ken?
This is my adapter, my keyboard adapter.
Oh, yeah.
For Model 2, keyboards from.
For a Model 2 to a 12 or a 6000 16B keyboard.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, this is one I made like a jillion years ago. We used to run the newer keyboards on the older machines because we just like the keyboards better. So anyway, I saw you post about this, and so that's mine.
Yeah, someone sent me a message and said, can I use a Model 2 keyboard on a 16 and vice versa, even though I said it's just wired differently. All you need is to come up with the adapter. There's no voltage or any other issues that should present themselves. So that would be something I should start actually making, since I'm in it for the money.
Well, I've got a patent on this.
Right. Right.
Well, why aren't you making them then, Ken? Because
you can have it. I'll give it to you.
The time it takes to rebuild one, I can tell. Yeah, the time it takes to refoam one of those keyboards these days, I can tell a lot of people would like to just refoam one, even if they've got a half a dozen computers, and use the adapter to use that one keyboard on all their computers. They'd probably be perfectly happy with that as a solution. But yeah, it's good to know it works.
Ian, do you sell the refoaming kits? I got 2 or 3 keys out on mine.
I'll answer your second question first. Even though you've got 2 or 3 out, you want to do all of them when you've got your computer apart, but if you fix the 3, then another 3 will go out next time you go to use the computer and so on.
Yep.
No, Eric found the best solution, which is just look on eBay for a Sun Type 4 keyboard, and it's got all the foams in them. They're in good condition. You've also got some spares left over, and you can refoam a keyboard in about an hour if you've got one of those.
Well, yeah. I went looking for the one that was in Europe, and it doesn't show up on the US eBay page at all. I had to actually go to the .de page, but there appears to be somebody selling them in the US. Has anybody tried
Sun Type 4 keyboards?
What?
Sorry, somebody in Germany is selling Sun Type 4 keyboards or refoaming
No,
kits.
refoaming kits.
Oh, was it that one? Or is
That's
that the one
the
we got?
American one.
That's the American one. Yeah. That was really good, the one.
Okay.
They vary in quality. Those a lot of people have a good result out of it, except Pete.
Yeah, I tried those Tech Select ones, and
that's the one, US ones.
You need to make sure you clean the circuit board very well with an eraser.
I already did. I did that, and it actually got worse.
Did it really?
Yeah, I went from 2 keys down to I think 3 or 4 now, and I've like relocated some of them off of areas to get some of the keys back. But I've got to do it. It's just something to do. It's
I did the pen eraser thing and then deoxed it with deoxid D5. Every key worked after it was refoamed.
Yeah.
Some of my silver actually is discolored, so that was weird. On the keys that were bad.
Germany.
What do you got there, Ken?
These were the ones from Germany.
Yeah, I've done one of those. They're fiddly, but they do work well. They do take a lot of time. I did the keyboard in 2 parts over 2 days, and they do work. But since then, we've found that the Sun Type 4 keyboard is probably the quickest and easiest.
Yeah, the benefit with the Sun Type 4 is it's the same exact key stems as on the 1216B6000 keyboard. So you just disassemble it, punch all the old ones out, and install them from the Sun Type 4 and put the keycaps back on. It's a lot faster than having to pull out each of the individual little foam discs and then stick them back on.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone knows the source of them in Europe, give me a shout. I can find them in the States, but in Europe they're just impossible.
Okay,
You got to
Steve,
come
I'll
over
send
to
you
the
the link.
assembly one of these years, Steve, and put it in your.
If we're allowed to travel, then yeah, that's a good idea.
I'll see if I can't post it real quick.
Hey, Ira.
Hello. Is my mic working?
Yeah, you're sounding loud and clear.
Yay.
Everybody knows Ira, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How's lockdown in California going, Ira?
Just staying inside, ordering delivery, ordering groceries, and not much going on.
Not much going on. Not much traffic on the road, I would imagine.
No, I went into work last Monday before stopping, and my commute was record time.
Yeah, the fastest it's ever been in LA. You can.
Oh, fantastic. If it
There's
stays
always
that
a
way.
silver lining. Yep. Can you mostly work from home at the moment?
Yes.
That's good. That's what I'm mostly doing as well. How's the website going?
It's going. I've been playing around with disassembling, and that's my latest additions. But it's going. I don't know if anybody noticed, but and of course my memory's garbage. So I just had gotten the okay from
Lance Miklas.
Yes, thank you. I was going to the site to check to put all his stuff up.
Yep. No, there's some good stuff there. He's a great programmer because it does a lot of that hybrid basic assembly stuff. So it's great to look at his coding and see how things were done moving forward.
I have
absolutely.
I have Lance Miklas's Model 3.
No way.
Yeah, he gave it to me at the first day in the assembly.
That's right, and signed it as well. It's got his signature in big Sharpie on the top of it.
Yeah, he said this is the one I developed, all the games on. So he saw one of my prized possessions.
I don't collect hardware, but the Model 4 and the 4P that I have are both Lance Woolstrup, who had done TRS times when he passed.
Yep, yep. He was a TRS Times guy, was he?
Yep.
All right. There's for people who don't know about it, that was a monthly or bi-monthly e-newsletter, something like that, wasn't it? Was it
Let me
distributed?
take a look. It wasn't, no. There was definitely a print copy and there were discs. All of that is freely downloadable on the site. It's all live, obviously, because I got the permission.
Yeah.
But let's take a look. I wonder if it was quarterly.
I seem to remember it being distributed in electronic form around the.
There were six printed ones in a year, and he did about 7 volumes or 8, wasn't it? He actually ran longer than 80 micro, if my memory serves me.
Yep.
He definitely ran later.
Yeah.
And he covered the 1994 Northbridge quake as part of it, I think.
Yeah, because I had he used to sort of drop me lines when TRS-8 bits first started, and he said if you ever want to reproduce anything, just help yourself. And also I communicated with the late Roy T. Beck, who was a fantastic old guy. The stuff he'd done with the hard drive. Do you remember the series he ran in that? That was again quite revolutionary at the early 90s. It was really brilliant.
Yeah, I learned basically all my hard drive manipulations and stuff through his articles in CN80.
I just put up a link for anybody that wants to download the magazines.
Yep, great.
Yeah, Ira, maybe you would know this. I don't know if you were on before. We were talking about the whereabouts of Randy Cook. Have you ever talked to him?
No idea. I have done my fair share of trying to hunt people down to get permission. But no, that one, sorry.
Someone was asking me the other day about Roy Saltoff. Is he still around? Does anyone know?
That would be a question for Tim.
Tim Mann.
Yeah.
You'd have to talk to Tim Mann first. He's another one that.
Yeah, how you going, Pete, with getting an interview with Tim Mann?
No, he's not really interested.
Dang.
I agree. He's not really interested.
He's got a pretty good website there, so maybe he just figured I'll put everything up there and never have to concern himself with it again. But, I refer to his site all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Just purely as a matter of interest, guys, there's an index to TRS times on the web on my web at trs80.org.uk. It's in a Microsoft Access format or comma separated if you wanted it.
Okay.
Cool. What else? Any other projects or programs or anything?
Got one. Pete.
Go ahead.
It's this thing.
Grease weasel.
Grease weasels, yeah.
It is a grease weasel, and it works excellently.
Yep.
You can read and write on a PC or a Mac for nothing, peanuts. It's amazing.
Was it hard to build?
No.
There's another version that's even easier out there than using that's what they call the blue pill version. There's another version that is designed just to strap directly on. There's also a adapter board that goes with the blue pill. You have to dig through the Grease Weasel wiki, but it takes a little bit to figure it out, but it's good.
Is anybody
concerned with
assembled ones?
Cure sells them.
Yeah, there's several people selling them. You want to make sure you get one of the newer F7 versions and a couple of other things, Peter.
What software are people using with those?
It's open source, Python. It's open source.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right there.
A lot of people the earlier people were just taking jumper wires and going straight off of a pin to floppy into the blue pill board. And what he showed there's a version that has that adapter board that'll go directly to a 34-pin cable. And then there is a single board solution with the F7. It's about twice the area of that board that has everything all in one board. And it's a cleaner solution.
I want to find a one-stop shop where I can just buy a fully assembled, ready to go one.
Yeah, I got mine from Cure already built.
Yeah, the bottom one is it. Yep, that's the
I'll
F7
send you
one.
one if you'd like one, Pete.
Huh. Neat.
Put a link to it or whatever. Yeah, I definitely want to try it. But I don't want to build anything right now. I have so many other projects on my queue.
There's a lot of people selling them. You may have to go to England, I think was one of the closer places. I don't know of anybody in the US that's doing it.
Anybody try with 8-inch floppies?
I saw somebody do it. I've been playing with it, but haven't had much time. But I saw somebody post recently that they did get it to work. So
Yeah, I've read similar results. I haven't done it myself yet, but that's definitely one of my upcoming tests is to try it with the 8-inch.
Cool.
Yeah, I opted to go to the GoTac route quicker for that, so it's a little easier. But
does that allow you to read individual tracks?
The Grease Weasel?
Yeah.
I would say I think it does. There's a very
It does. You can specify in the code, command line, you can specify start track, end track. So if you just wanted to do one track, you could do it that way. It's pretty flexible.
And it's easy to merge the tracks together.
Yeah, if you want it, well, it's what you're doing is the flux level transitions. So if you want to script something to put them together, you could do it.
you have to post-process the flux level to get the data.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the interpretation layer is not there. So if you would have to make the determination if it's FM or MFM or whatever, and piece it together yourself, or use something like HXC and piece it together as well.
That you could get rid of that whole big setup you got and go down to a single drive and this plug. I was actually going to do a board for it that just would plug straight into the back of it and have USB on the back of an 8-inch drive. If there's any interest, speak up and I'll probably post an open source for that if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I'd be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's hold on one sec.
Transparent.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let me turn that off.
Yeah, I was gonna say hold it back up because it was completely transparent.
So that's the new board. It's a little blurry, but I've started to assemble it. I haven't finished it yet. It's all surface mount, and it's the parts are tiny. You have to have patience for it.
Yeah, no, if you Peter, if you go with the blue pill version, you can buy those on Amazon for like $4, $3, I think, for the blue pill. And it comes with enough jumper wires, I think, that you can plug it straight into like a 3.5-inch drive. You'll have to do an adapter for a 5 1/4 or whatever, because it's card edge. But it's pretty straight out of the box.
Cool. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, Pete, again, if we have a 10-day assembly this year, my hope would be to do the presentation on the grease weasel. So see.
Maybe you can bring some assembled ones to sell.
Yeah, maybe. I know some other guys in the community are doing the same. David Ladd is on the Cocoa side, has been putting a bunch together. So there's definitely going to be sources for him.
Mm-hmm. One with a built-in 50-pin adapter for 8-inch drives would be even more awesome.
I'll try to get some time to do that.
Okay.
Oh no, unfortunately, my employer has me working from home, so I'm not as lucky as a lot of people that's just has plenty of time to play with vintage shit at the moment. So anyway.
Right.
Did anyone come here straight from the Cocoa talk?
Yeah, so there's Mark Overholzer. I see him there. Rob Inman was on. Mark, are you still there? He's on mute.
There's a bunch of people on the Discord who are watching the YouTube stream, apparently.
Yeah, there was a couple earlier.
Okay, hope we're not boring the Cocoa people too much, Paul.
No, not at all. But I like both sides. You know, I like the Z80 side as well as 6809. So, yeah, they just had their Cocoa talk just before this, and there was a lot of talk of it. They were, you know, pushing the links, and I'm sure there's a lot of people watching right now.
Yeah, I'm one of the Cocoa Talk people. So my first time here.
Welcome. Hey, Strick, welcome.
All right, thank you. Radio TRS-80 was my second computer. My first was a homegrown Cosmac Elf type box. And then my third was a homegrown 6809 that was kind of like a color computer. So anyway, good to be here. Thanks.
Sure. Awesome. Great. No, I've ordered some of the 6309, but they're coming out of Asia, so I've been waiting 6 weeks for them to get here. But I actually want to do the upgrade to one of my Cocoa 3s and try out Nick Morenti's new game on it. So it was probably a little early for Rick to be here, but for Nick to be here, but yeah, he's got a new game out that runs on the Cocoa 3 with the processor upgrade.
Yeah, Nick was on earlier. I saw him pop in, and yeah, that new game is fantastic. I mean, it's just amazing to see what he's doing with 30-year-old, 35-year-old technology. I mean, the 6309 is as most folks know, the drop-in replacement, the Hitachi drop-in replacement for the 6809, and he's taken advantage of some of the memory transfer built-in advantages of the chip and the native speed increase. So, but what he's done with it is amazing. The game is really, really nice.
Yep. Lamar, you been doing anything? Lamar, you online?
Yeah, I'm
or-
here. I'm here. Yeah, actually, I've got a board here that is related to a project I'm doing. See if anybody can identify this board. It's somewhat
Can
related.
you move it up a little bit?
There
Tilt
we
it.
go. Mhm. Maybe while looking at
It's
the
a real
backside,
tech. It's a real tech something on the front side.
look at the backside.
Oh, it's a 68,000 drop.
It's a Z180 insert.
Z180. Okay. Yeah, it's a 60-pin PLCC. So
Yeah. So this is related to my attempt to rework the accelerator. And so this is the Z180 in-circuit emulator that will be key. So you've got a serial port there you connect to, and then you've got a monitor and ROM here, and then you plug this into the 68-pin PLCC Z180 socket, and that lets you do in-circuit emulation. And so that one was an eBay find for sure. So still working towards that, finding new pieces here and there, and working through some of the challenges with synchronizing it to the TRS-80 bus. But my reference for that is this. If that is readable, it's mirrored on my screen, but it should be
Yeah.
on yours.
Yeah.
Remember
I think
that.
we all,
So making some progress. Thanks for
I think
asking.
we all
Ian.
read Steve Sierra's stuff.
One of these.
What's
Yeah.
that?
It's going to say it's one of these. The
Yeah, that's an
SB180s.
Yeah, that's the SB180.
Yeah, I've got 3 of them. So
I've got another show and tell here. We'll see if just see if anyone recognizes this one. It was sent to me last week. So let me just. Looks like it's never been used either. There. You recognize that, Lamar?
Oh yeah, that's an accelerator.
Yeah. So that's what you're aiming at, is a fully functional update on that.
What did that do again?
Added a 6.8.
64-180.
Yeah, 64180 processor to a Model 4, and runs at I think 6 or 8 megahertz. It was quite an upgrade for the time there, and
I've got one of those for the Model 2.
They're rare as hen's teeth too.
which is kind of odd, isn't it? Because they were advertised pretty much constantly for the whole of the 90s in Computer News 80 and even in 80 Micro for the last few years. But trying to find them these days is a real challenge.
And we have this software available that runs on it?
Yeah.
Well, it comes with software and early version of plugins into your operating system and everything, but it's mainly about making the existing software run a whole lot faster.
I think Ken has something he was going to show us here.
Yeah.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, so this was my 64-180 board for the Model 2 in 16.
Wow.
Yeah, I built that a long time ago, and Frank did the BIOS ROM for it.
Wow.
But we never did anything with it. We was just kind of let's just see if it'll work. And so it was about 20-25% faster. Everything still worked. We never tried it with Xenix, but
It worked today on
yeah,
DOS.
yeah. So you just unlocked it. Say what?
Do you have the schematics for that?
Yeah, somewhere. I posted them on the TRS board that Pete runs. But yeah, I do have them somewhere. I mean, they're hand drawn. You know,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
had me go find them.
Yeah. Such as it is. Well, I can find what you need if you want to duplicate. It's real easy. There's nothing to it. I mean, that's it. It's like, a handful of parts. And but yeah, if you want it, sure.
I do, yes.
Send an email to me and so I know where to send it, and I'll send it to you.
Well, either that or just send it to Pete and he can post it.
I can do it. Well, actually, it's up there, but kenb@brookner.com is my address if you want to do that.
How do you spell Brookner?
Yeah, BROOKNER.
Now expect a lot of tech support questions, Ken.
Okay, that's all right. I don't mind. Anyway, it was a fun little project. We whipped it up. I did the hardware and Frank did the software. And I think I've still got his mods to the BIOS. I mean, it was basically just had to turn it on.
I think it was that, wasn't it?
That would be a cool project to do.
It was nice, but no, there wasn't much interest in it, and we mainly did it because Hitachi rep gave us the part. It was sort of like, well, we got to do something with it now.
Yeah. Is there enough room to fit it in the card cage without moving boards?
Oh, well, okay. See, yes.
You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. So basically, the way it worked was.
It's okay.
No, he's got. It
long ribbon.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
You plug this. You unplug the Z80.
Yeah.
And you plug that in, and then you plug this into my board, and then there was like a couple of clock flying leads because we had to get a clock off the CPU board, and that was
Okay.
it. And you could just stick it anywhere.
Yep.
It was real high tech, as you can tell.
Not.
I love it.
Just going back to what I was talking about with the accelerator XLR8R board. This is an ad for it from an old 80 Micro magazine. So I don't know if you can read that. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Do the price.
Is it back to front or?
No, that's fine.
Good.
Okay, so it gave you 8 megahertz processor and 256K of additional memory. on your Model 4, 4P or 4D, and came with software utilities for Tristos, CPM or LDOS, simple plug-in installation. Yeah, so difficult to find. I wonder how many computers that had them in and people just didn't realize it and junked them. Really, the only way to find them these days is to buy enough computers off eBay and cross your fingers that cross your fingers that when you lift the lid off it, there's something in there. But
well, that's exactly what happened with mine. So I got my 4P, popped the case, thought it was a high-res card. No, it was an accelerator. And I had dual 80 track double-sided drives modded in it. And the only little symbol that it was even in there was this little sticky that was on the back. And even now, just in front of you, you can only just read that it says accelerator add-on in the back of it. So literally, as you say, in a stumble across.
Yeah.
Yeah, look after it, dude.
That's the greatest feeling for those of us that collect a lot of these machines. You open them up and it's always the same thing, but every once in a while you get a little surprise and it just makes your day.
Hey, Pete, not sure if you saw my note, but there's some comments and questions coming in from the YouTube chat that we've got going on where we're broadcasting on YouTube. One of the questions was directed towards Ian on the color card that you were talking about earlier for the TRS-80, and that's a new development, correct? Or is that something older? Because there was people were wondering if there were any games for that, or if there was any plans for games for that.
All right. So short answer, it's an old card from about 1984. The company that did produce them did produce a small amount of demonstration and game software to demonstrate the capabilities of the device. So we've got a copy of those early applications and a copy of the information manual or the user manual on how to program it and everything. So it'll be available as something that a basis of something that you can start working on and do something with. So you can see it in action, and then there's information on how to program it.
So basically what you've done is you've recreated the board and you'll have those available at some point.
Yeah, Pascal's done the work on redoing it, and I'm sort of been given the opportunity to make a few of those available, and hopefully they'll take off, and there'll be a few people interested in it. There's one thing I wanted to ask George I think it's George. I wanted to ask: is there a different version of a similar product, electric crayon? That uses a different video chip. Does anyone know about that?
Yeah, the electric crayon, it actually hooked up to the printer port. My understanding is it uses the same video chip as the Coco. So it's kind of like a color printer, except it hooks to your TV. And it has a little operating system in it, and I would be very interested to see what's on there, if anyone has one.
So it turns your Model 1 into a Z80 Coco.
Sorta.
Sorta. This is just sounds so weird, and we've got to try and find one. Any luck finding one, Ira? I know you've had a notice on your site for a little bit.
Nobody said anything to me. I do see that I have something called electric crayon demonstration disc. Did Percom make the electric crayon?
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes,
I certainly have that. If that helps at all.
It will be handy once we get the hardware. But yeah, I doubt if it sold even 500 units, given that description. But like all this old stuff, would be great to have a mess around with again.
Color is so overrated. Who needs color?
Green.
Green or amber,
Color distracts you. You can't focus. You need to focus on your work.
Well, that's why the Coco only gave you 4 of them at a time, right?
Oh.
And that beautiful color palette too.
You can tell John's not tuned in.
So in the UK we had this. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that was an option board. I've got a Tandy issued one, and the company that Tandy I think licensed it from, I've got their original one as well. It's a bit odd, but that's programmable character generator, high res. So
I never understood what Tandy were thinking, but they must have decided that the UK was going to be a test market for that thing, and it didn't. They just decided moving forward not to proceed to make it available in other markets like the United States. But that's where they all come from. Those things. You're on mute.
yeah, this is the third-party version. So it's exactly the same as the Tandy one, but that's the company Applegate.
Yeah,
but that's just a box full of video RAM. Crazy way doing it.
Well, the idea behind the way they did it was quite handy, I thought, because there was less modification to the Model 1 motherboard. There you still had to open the computer up and solder a couple of wires and a small board inside the Model 1. But where other character generator high-res program products for the Model 1 required extensive motherboard trace cutting and soldering way beyond the level of the average user at the time. So they're another surprise thing you occasionally find in a Model 1, but not very often.
Tandy never really supported the high-res functionality. Even Paul was telling us when he designed the high-res card for the Model 2, and you look at it, there's really no Tandy software that uses the Model 2 high-resolution board. And it's an incredible piece of hardware, and you can...
You had to write it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to, Ken had one that we used to play with.
Yeah, we used to write propagation programs, ham radio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was used in universities and people, it was very special, very niche.
Right.
But yeah, it was a wonderful card.
Yeah, it was a nice card, and it was not particularly hard to program, as I recall. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. So.
Yeah, there was a good amount of Model 4 third-party software for the Model 4 high-resolution card, and I've put it all, most of it, screen representations of it on my site, and some of the stuff that people came up with to do with them is quite incredible. Really good for math work and 3D things like that, where speed is not the name of the game.
Well, speed was never the name of the game in those old machines, I mean, we thought they were pretty fast, but they weren't.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think the business graphics analysis pack for the Model 2 used the high-res card.
Yeah, that may be the only one, right? All right, folks, we're at 2 hours, so we're going to call it a day unless anyone has anything else important they want to bring up.
Could I just ask UK people, if you do come across anything to do with the Acula floppy tape, bear it in mind. Could you let me know? Let me see what you've got. I'm desperately trying to get those wafers to work, but I'm not having any luck. I've tried replacing the little foam pads underneath the wafer tape, but it's so small and so old. I really don't think I'm getting anywhere. So if you do find anything, if you could let me know, please. And finally, Pete, for a trash talk, any chance of trying to get hold of Lewis Rosenfeld? Have you had any chance?
I haven't tried. Who was he? Lewis Rosenfeld?
He wrote the Basic Faster and Better.
Oh yes, right.
Do you want to preview the next trash talk, which is about to come out?
Yeah,
next
we
week.
actually, that's in our latest book review, which is going to be coming out next week. So about that book. That book is amazing, by the way.
Which book was this?
Basic, Better, Faster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful book.
Great book.
Not for the beginner. If you look at some of the packed coding and and logic leaps that he does between things, they're quite incredible. I was using routines out of that book for years in my programming, and yeah, I got yeah. He would be good to talk to, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, one other thing I was going to mention real quick. With ongoing projects, there was some feedback here when I would mention the 6309, the Hitachi drop-in chip for the 6809. One thing that's still being developed that many folks on the panel might remember, OS 9 for the color computer.
Oh, yeah.
There's an open source version of Nitrous 9 ease of use edition that Curtis Boyle and others are working on, continuously developing the platform. And it's a wonderful platform. It takes advantage of the 6309. It will work. There's a 6809 version of it, but if folks, even with an emulator, you can download the package and check it out. But it's a OS that's still in development, and folks in the community are using it. There's a lot of folks that are developing packages for it. Adapting existing packages and games and programs for it, and it's pretty neat to check out. So Nitrous 9 ease of use edition. L. Curtis Boyle has a site that you can actually go and download it from and use it on the emulators if you don't want to try it out with real hardware. But it's a neat package. So
Very cool. Very cool. All right, folks. Hope you had a lot of fun. Hope you all stay safe. Keep in touch. We're going to try and do these quarterly. So,
cool.
All right.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for doing it, Pete. This was excellent.
All right.
Everybody stay safe.
yeah, thanks everyone. This is great.
Thanks.
Okay.
Everyone.
See you
Very
guys.
interesting. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.